My phone rang at 3 a.m., and I knew it was Shanice before I even looked at the screen. Funny how a mother's heart works that way. But this time, instead of rushing to answer like I'd done for 32 years, I stared at that glowing screen and let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. On the 4th ring, I picked up. "Mama?" Her voice was destroyed, raw from crying. "Mama, everything's ruined. The wedding. It's all falling apart. I need you." I sat up in my hotel bed in Costa Rica, looked out at the ocean view I'd paid for with the money I'd been saving for her wedding, and said the hardest words I'd ever spoken to my daughter. "Baby, I'm not there, remember?" The silence on the other end was so thick I could feel it across 3,000 miles. "What do you mean you're not here? Mama, the wedding is in 6 hours." "I mean, I'm in Costa Rica, Shanice, on that vacation you told me I should take instead of coming to your wedding." I heard her gasp, then her fiancé Terrell's voice in the background asking what was wrong. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and tell you how a 72-year-old woman who'd given everything to her children ended up drinking mango juice on a beach while her daughter's dream wedding collapsed back home. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. It started 6 months ago, right after Sunday service at Greater Hope Baptist, where I'd been a member for 43 years. Shanice came by my little house on Maple Street, the same house where I'd raised her and her brother Malcolm after their father passed when they were young. She was glowing, practically bouncing on my worn sofa. "Mama, Terrell proposed." She flashed a ring that caught the afternoon light streaming through my lace curtains. It was beautiful, I'll give him that. Big diamond, white gold band. Must have cost him 3 months' salary. I hugged her tight, breathing in the cocoa butter lotion she'd used since high school. "Oh, baby, I'm so happy for you. When's the big day?" That's when her smile got a little nervous. "Well, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. We're thinking June 14th, and Mama..." She grabbed my hands. "I want it to be perfect, everything perfect, the kind of wedding I've dreamed about since I was a little girl." "Of course, baby. We'll make it beautiful." She bit her lip. "Terrell's mother, Claudette, she's already offered to help plan everything. She knows this wedding coordinator who did her niece's wedding, and they're talking about the Riverside Estate venue, you know, that fancy place by the water." I knew it. I'd driven past it plenty of times. It was the kind of place where Black excellence shined, where doctors and lawyers and business owners held their celebrations. Not the kind of place for a retired schoolteacher living on a pension. "That sounds expensive, honey." "It is, but Claudette says she'll cover most of it. She's always wanted to plan a big wedding, and since Terrell's her only son..." Shanice trailed off, not meeting my eyes. "The thing is, Mama, she has very specific ideas about how everything should be. The guest list, the colors, the whole theme. She's calling it a curated celebration." Something cold settled in my stomach. "What are you saying, Shanice?" She finally looked at me. "She wants to keep it intimate, just close family and their social circle. Her words, not mine. And she made this list, and Mama, I'm so sorry, but your church friends aren't on it. Sister Phyllis, Brother Warren, the choir members. None of them made the cut." I sat back. These were people who'd helped raise my children, who'd brought casseroles when my husband died, who'd celebrated every one of Shanice's achievements like she was their own daughter. "I see. But you'll be there, of course. You're the mother of the bride. Claudette has this whole special section planned for parents. You'll sit right up front with your corsage and everything." I should have paid more attention to how she said it. Your corsage and everything, like I was just another decoration in Claudette's curated celebration. Over the next few months, I barely heard from Shanice. Every time I called, she was busy with Claudette, dress shopping with Claudette, menu tasting with Claudette, flower selection with Claudette. When I offered to help with anything, she'd say, "Oh, Claudette's already handling that, Mama, but thanks." I'd saved $12,000 over the years, keeping it in a special account for Shanice's wedding. Money I'd put away from tutoring students after school, from doing hair on weekends, from every birthday check from my own mother before she passed. I told Shanice about it one Sunday after church, thinking maybe it would help me feel more involved. "Mama, that's sweet, but we don't need it. Claudette's got everything covered. You should use that money for yourself. Take a vacation or something. When's the last time you did something just for you?" I tried to laugh it off. "Baby, I don't need a vacation. I want to contribute to your wedding. It's tradition. The bride's family. Tradition is different now, Mama." She was looking at her phone, typing something. "Claudette says modern weddings are about the couple's vision, not outdated traditions. Oh, I have to go. Meeting her at the florist in 20 minutes. She kissed my cheek and left, and I sat in my empty house feeling like a stranger in my own daughter's life. The final blow came exactly 4 weeks before the wedding. Shanice showed up at my door on a Tuesday evening, which was unusual. She never came by on Tuesdays anymore. "Hey, Mama." She wouldn't come inside, just stood on my porch. "I need to talk to you about something, and I need you to not be upset." "What's wrong, baby?" She took a deep breath. "Claudette's photographer needs to meet with the immediate family for a pre-wedding shoot this Saturday. She wants it to look like a magazine spread. Very elegant, coordinated outfits, professional styling. She hired a whole team." "That sounds nice. What time should I be ready?" Shanice looked at her shoes. "The thing is, Claudette has a very specific vision for the photos. She's doing this whole modern family aesthetic with Terrell's side. His parents, his brother and sister-in-law, their kids. And she's already bought all the outfits, had everything tailored, white linen and soft gold tones. It's supposed to look like we're one cohesive unit." "Okay." I still wasn't understanding. "Mama, she didn't include you in the shoot. She says the parents' formal photos will be at the wedding itself. This is just for his immediate family to bond before the big day. She's even hired a family therapist to be there to facilitate bonding exercises." I felt like I'd been slapped. "I'm not immediate family?" "You know what I mean, Mama. You're the bride's mother. This is specifically for Terrell's side to come together. It's weird, I know, but Claudette's paying for everything, so I don't matter." "That's not what I'm saying." But her voice said she knew exactly what she was saying. "Look, can you just not make this difficult? Everything's already planned. The wedding's in 4 weeks. After that, things will go back to normal." But I knew they wouldn't. This was the new normal. Me on the outside, Claudette on the inside. After she left, I called my son Malcolm in Atlanta. He'd already told me he couldn't make the wedding because of some work conference that couldn't be rescheduled. Now I wondered if he'd even been invited properly. "Ma, I tried to tell you," he said when I told him about the photo shoot. "Shanice has been different since she got with Terrell. He's a good guy, but his mama, she's something else. And Shanice is so desperate to fit into their world, she's forgetting where she came from." "What am I supposed to do?" "You're supposed to live your life, Ma. You raised us right. We're grown now. If Shanice wants to let that woman run her life, that's her choice. But you don't have to sit around waiting to be included in your own daughter's wedding, like you're some charity case." His words hurt because they were true. The next Sunday, Sister Phyllis found me crying in the church bathroom after service. She's been my best friend since 1982, stood with me through everything. "Connie, what's wrong?" I told her everything. The wedding, the exclusion, the photo shoot, all of it. Phyllis, who stands 5'2" and weighs maybe 100 pounds soaking wet, looked ready to fight. "That girl has lost her mind. After everything you've done, you worked 2 jobs to put her through college. You co-signed her first car. You were there every single time she needed you. And now she's pushing you aside for some bougie woman who thinks she's better than us? She's trying to fit in with Terrell's family. By cutting out her own mama? That's not fitting in, Connie. That's forgetting who you are." She grabbed my shoulders. "You know what you need to do? You need to take that money you saved and do something for yourself. Go somewhere. See something. Live your life. Because, baby, if you sit at home crying while they have their curated celebration without you, you're teaching Shanice that it's okay to treat you like this. I can't miss my daughter's wedding, Phyllis. Can't you? She's made it clear you're not really part of it anyway. You'll sit in your assigned seat, wear your corsage, smile for the camera, and watch Claudette play mother of the bride. Or you could show yourself some respect and do something that actually makes you happy. I went home and stared at my computer for 2 hours. Then I did something crazy. I booked a trip to Costa Rica. All-inclusive resort, ocean view, spa treatments, the works. I used every penny of that $12,000 I'd saved for the wedding. I booked it for June 10th through June 20th. Right through the wedding. Then I sent Shanice a text. Baby, I've decided to take that vacation you suggested. I'll be in Costa Rica during your wedding. I hope everything is beautiful. I love you. She called 30 seconds later. Mama, what are you talking about? What vacation? You told me to take a vacation, remember? Use the money on myself? Well, I'm taking your advice. I didn't mean during my wedding. Mama, you have to be there. Do I? Because for the last 6 months, you've made it very clear that I'm not really needed. Claudette's handling everything. Your church family isn't invited. I'm not in the family photos. I'm just supposed to sit there and smile while she plays dress-up with your wedding. So I decided to actually do something that makes me happy. You're being selfish! Her voice went high and tight, the way it did when she was a teenager and didn't get her way. Maybe I am. Or maybe I'm finally putting myself first, since you've made it clear that's what everyone else in this situation is doing. Claudette is going to be so upset. Claudette? I laughed, and it sounded bitter even to me. Not you? You're worried about Claudette being upset? Mama, please. I've already booked it, baby. Non-refundable. I leave June 10th. Have a beautiful wedding. I really do mean that. I hope it's everything you dreamed of. I hung up before she could say anything else. The next 3 weeks were hell. Shanice called crying, then angry, then crying again. Terrell called trying to be the peacemaker. Even Malcolm called saying maybe I was being too harsh. But the worst was when Claudette herself called. Mrs. Fletcher, I understand you're upset, but surely you can see that you're making Shanice's wedding about you. This is her special day. You're absolutely right, Ms. Wallace. It is her special day. And she's made it clear I'm not really part of it anyway, so I'm giving her exactly what she wants. A wedding planned entirely by you, without any interference from me. You're being incredibly immature, and you're being incredibly controlling. But here's the difference. Shanice is your future daughter-in-law. She's my actual daughter. The one I gave birth to, raised alone, sacrificed for. And if she's choosing your vision over my presence, that tells me everything I need to know about where I stand. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have packing to do. I hung up feeling powerful and heartbroken at the same time. Sister Phyllis threw me a freedom party the night before I left. Just the church ladies, the same ones who weren't invited to the wedding. We ate good food, laughed, and they prayed over me. Phyllis slipped an envelope in my purse. Little extra vacation money. You've earned it, honey. The morning of June 10th, I turned off my phone and boarded the plane. I didn't turn it back on until I was settled in my hotel room in Costa Rica, looking out at the most beautiful ocean I'd ever seen. That's when I saw the voicemails. 15 from Shanice, 8 from Terrell, 3 from numbers I didn't recognize, and 1 from Malcolm that just said, "Ma, call me. It's important." I called Malcolm first. "Ma, thank God. Listen, you need to know something. I did some digging after you told me about the wedding situation. Claudette's company, the one she supposedly runs, it's bankrupt. She's been using credit cards to fund everything. The venue, the photographer, the flowers, none of it's paid for. And apparently she's been telling vendors that you're covering the costs. They've been sending bills to your house. My blood went cold. What? Check your mailbox. I called your neighbor, Mrs. Chen. He caught himself. Sorry, Mrs. Martinez. She said you have a stack of certified letters from wedding vendors. Ma, they think you owe them over $60,000. I sat down hard on the hotel bed. But I never signed anything. I never agreed to pay for... Doesn't matter. She used your name and address. And now the wedding's tomorrow, and apparently none of the vendors have been paid, and they're all threatening to not show up unless someone pays in full. Tonight. Where's Shanice in all this? Having a complete breakdown, from what Terrell told me. She had no idea. She thought her future mother-in-law was this successful businesswoman. Turns out Claudette's been fronting for years. The big house, rented, the fancy car, lease she can't afford. Everything's been smoke and mirrors. I looked out at the ocean, at this vacation I'd paid for with money my daughter told me to spend on myself, while her wedding crumbled under the weight of lies and debts back home. I thought about Shanice crying on the phone at 3 a.m., begging me to come fix it. And I made a decision. Malcolm, I need you to do something for me. Anything, Ma. I need you to call every single one of those vendors and tell them the same thing. Constance Fletcher is not responsible for any debts incurred by Claudette Wallace or anyone else for this wedding. Tell them to pursue legal action against her if they want their money, but they won't get a penny from me. Then I need you to call a lawyer first thing tomorrow morning. We're suing Claudette for fraud and identity theft. You're really going to let the wedding fall apart? I closed my eyes and saw my daughter's face that day on my porch, telling me I wasn't important enough for the family photos, telling me my friends weren't good enough for her curated celebration, choosing a con artist's approval over her own mother's presence. I'm not letting anything happen, baby. I'm in Costa Rica. The wedding is in North Carolina. Whatever happens there is not my problem, not anymore. Ma, I love your sister. I always will. But she made her choice. She chose Claudette's money and status over me. Now she can have exactly what she chose. A wedding with no mother, no money, and no way out. Maybe when it all falls apart, she'll remember who was really there for her all along. I hung up and turned off my phone again. But as I lay in that hotel bed, watching the sun rise over the Costa Rican ocean, I couldn't help wondering, what was happening back home? Was the wedding really falling apart? Was my daughter standing in an empty venue with no flowers, no photographer, no food, watching her perfect day crumble around her? Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt like the worst mother in the world. My phone buzzed at exactly 6 a.m. Costa Rica time, 9 a.m. back home. The wedding was supposed to start at 2 p.m. I stared at the screen, watching notification after notification pile up. Then I saw one that made my heart stop. A text from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Fletcher, this is Attorney Rodriguez from Curtis & Associates. Claudette Wallace has named you as a co-conspirator in fraud charges filed by wedding vendors. The police are looking for you. Call me immediately. I dropped the phone like it burned me. Suddenly, my peaceful vacation had turned into a nightmare. And back home, my daughter's wedding day had become a crime scene. I picked up the phone with shaking hands and called the number back. A woman's voice answered on the first ring, professional and calm. Attorney Rodriguez speaking. This is Constance Fletcher. I just got your text about fraud charges and police. What's going on? Mrs. Fletcher, where are you right now? Costa Rica, on vacation. Why are police looking for me? There was a pause. Mrs. Fletcher, Claudette Wallace has filed a counterclaim stating that you were the one who hired all the wedding vendors, promised payment, and then left the country to avoid paying. She's provided the vendors with documentation that appears to show your signature on contracts and payment agreements. The vendors have filed a civil suit, and given that you left the country right before the wedding, there's concern about flight risk. I felt like the room was spinning. That's insane. I never signed anything. I didn't even want this wedding. I told my daughter to use her father-in-law's mother's money. Claudette said she was paying for everything. Do you have any proof of that? Text messages, emails, anything where Claudette Wallace states she's covering the costs? I thought back through 6 months of barely talking to Shanice, of being shut out of every decision. No, she never communicated with me directly. Everything went through my daughter. That's going to be a problem. Mrs. Fletcher, I'm not representing you. I'm actually representing 3 of the vendors who are trying to get paid. But I'm calling you as a courtesy because something about this whole situation feels off to me. Claudette Wallace's story has holes in it. I think you're being set up, but you need to get ahead of this fast, or you're going to come home to a warrant for your arrest. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. What do I do? First, don't panic. Second, don't come home until you have legal representation. Third, I can recommend someone. My colleague, Attorney Simone Harper. She specializes in fraud defense. I'll text you her number. Call her immediately. Why are you helping me? Attorney Rodriguez sighed. Because I have a mother too. And because I interviewed your daughter this morning at what should have been her wedding venue, and that girl is destroyed. Not just because her wedding fell apart, but because she finally realized what she did to you, the way she talked about you. Mrs. Fletcher, guilty people don't talk like that. Victims do. I think you and your daughter are both victims of Claudette Wallace. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed trying to process everything. Then my phone rang again. Malcolm. Ma, where are you? Have you talked to a lawyer? Just did. Malcolm, what's happening there? Is the wedding? There is no wedding, Ma. The venue kicked them out this morning when nobody could produce payment. The caterers never showed up. The florist took back all the flowers. The photographer's threatening to sue. It's a complete disaster. But Ma, that's not even the worst part. What could be worse? Claudette tried to get Terrell to drain his 401k to pay the vendors. When he refused, she told him that you had promised to pay for everything and then backed out at the last minute to sabotage the wedding because you were jealous of her relationship with Shanice. She showed him documents with your signature. I never signed anything. I know that, Ma. But Terrell believed her at first. He was ready to call the police on you. That's when Shanice completely broke down. She told him everything. How you'd saved money for the wedding. How Claudette pushed you out of every decision. How she made Shanice choose between you and Terrell's family. Terrell started asking his mother questions, and that's when everything unraveled. What do you mean? Turns out, Claudette's been lying to Terrell his whole life. The successful business never existed. His college fund that he thought paid for his education? That was actually student loans in his name that he didn't know about. The family vacations, the private schools, all of it, credit card debt and scams. His father's been trying to leave her for years, but she's been blackmailing him with something. Terrell's entire life has been a lie. I felt a strange mixture of vindication and sadness. Where's Shanice now? At your house, Ma. She's been there since 6 this morning. She broke down your door. Well, she still had her key. And she's been crying in your bedroom ever since. She's been calling you for hours. I looked at my phone. 43 missed calls from Shanice's number. I can't talk to her right now, Malcolm. I need to protect myself legally. This woman is trying to frame me for fraud and have me arrested. I know, Ma. That's why I called. You need to stay in Costa Rica. Don't come home until this is sorted out. I'm flying in tonight. I've already hired Attorney Harper, the one Rodriguez recommended. She's good, Ma, really good. She thinks we can flip this whole thing on Claudette. How? Apparently, Claudette's done this before, to other people. Harper's been building a case against her for 2 years. You might have just given her the final piece she needs to take Claudette down for good. After Malcolm hung up, I walked out onto my hotel balcony and stared at the ocean. Below me, resort guests were laughing, swimming, drinking colorful cocktails, living their lives without drama. I wanted to be angry, but mostly I just felt tired. First time in paradise? I turned. A woman about my age, maybe mid-60s, was on the next balcony over. She had beautiful silver locks and warm brown skin that glowed in the morning sun. She was wearing a bright yellow sundress and holding a cup of coffee. Is it that obvious? I tried to smile. Honey, you've got that my real life just crashed into my vacation look. I know it well. I'm Beverly Lawson. Constance, Connie Fletcher. Well, Connie Fletcher, I don't know what's got you looking like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, but whatever it is, it can't touch you here. That's the rule of paradise. Real life stays home. I laughed, and it came out more like a sob. I wish that were true. Beverly studied me for a moment. You need a friend? I don't know why I said yes. Maybe because I was 3,000 miles from home, facing fraud charges, and my daughter was crying in my bedroom while her wedding turned into a crime scene. Maybe because this stranger with kind eyes reminded me of Sister Phyllis. Maybe because I was just tired of carrying everything alone. Beverly came over to my balcony and I told her everything. The whole story poured out: Shanice, Claudette, the wedding, the fraud, all of it. She listened without interrupting, nodding in all the right places. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Connie, can I tell you something? I'm a retired judge, 28 years on the bench in Chicago. And what you just described? That's not just fraud. That's identity theft, forgery, possibly racketeering if she's done this to multiple people. This woman is a career criminal, and she made a big mistake when she came after you. But she has documents with my signature. Forged documents, which means evidence, which means paper trail, which means she can't run from this. Beverly pulled out her phone. I'm going to make a call. I have a colleague in North Carolina who owes me a favor. He's going to make sure this gets investigated properly and fast. You're not going to be charged with anything, Connie. But Claudette Wallace? She's going to jail. I started crying. Not sad crying, but the kind of crying that comes when you've been holding everything together for so long and someone finally tells you it's going to be okay. Beverly hugged me, and she smelled like cocoa butter and coffee, like home. Now here's what we're going to do. You're going to stay right here and enjoy your vacation. Let the lawyers handle the legal stuff. Let your son handle the family drama. And you're going to take care of yourself for once. When's the last time you did that? I can't even remember. Then it's time. Come on. I'm taking you to breakfast, and then we're getting massages. My treat. Beverly, I can't let you. Hush. I'm a judge. Well, retired judge. We don't take no for an answer. The next 3 days passed in a surreal blur. Beverly became my guardian angel, keeping me busy during the day while Malcolm and Attorney Harper handled everything back home. Every evening, Malcolm would call with updates. Day 1. Harper filed an emergency motion. She's got bank records showing Claudette's financial history. Ma, this woman has been running wedding scams for 15 years. She finds brides from modest families, swoops in as the generous future mother-in-law, plans extravagant weddings on credit, then frames someone else for the debt. She's destroyed at least 8 families that Harper knows of. Day 2. The police arrested Claudette this afternoon. They found a storage unit full of forged documents and signatures. She had your signature on file from when you co-signed Shanice's car loan years ago. She's been practicing it. Ma, she had documents ready to frame you even before the wedding planning started. This was premeditated. Day 3. Terrell's father filed for divorce. Turns out the thing Claudette was blackmailing him with was a lie too. Terrell's a mess. The wedding's obviously off, and Ma, Shanice wants to talk to you. That's when I finally listened to one of her voicemails, the most recent one, from that morning. Mama, I know you probably hate me. I hate myself. I was so stupid, so blind, so desperate to fit into this life that I thought was perfect. I threw away the one person who's always been there for me, who sacrificed everything for me, who loved me unconditionally. Claudette told me you were jealous, that you were trying to ruin my happiness because you were bitter about being alone. And I believed her because it was easier than admitting that I was ashamed of where I came from. Ashamed of our little house on Maple Street. Ashamed that you were just a school teacher and not some fancy businesswoman. Ashamed of our church family because they weren't rich or connected. Mama, I was ashamed of you, and I hate myself for it. You raised me better than that. Daddy would be so disappointed in me. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know that I finally see clearly. I see how amazing you are, how strong you are, how you loved me enough to walk away when I treated you like garbage. I'm so sorry, Mama. I'm so sorry. Her voice broke on the last word, and then there was just crying until the voicemail cut off. I played it 3 times, sitting on that hotel balcony while Beverly waited quietly beside me. What should I do? I finally asked. Beverly squeezed my hand. That's not for me to answer, honey. But I'll tell you what I learned in 28 years of listening to people's pain and mistakes. Everybody deserves forgiveness, but nobody's entitled to it. Forgiveness is a gift, and it's given on your timeline, not theirs. You don't owe anyone your healing before you're ready. That night, Malcolm called with news that changed everything. Ma, you need to sit down for this. Claudette made a deal with the prosecutors. She's going to plead guilty to all charges, fraud, identity theft, forgery, everything, in exchange for a reduced sentence. But here's the thing. Part of her plea agreement is making financial restitution to all her victims. All of them. What does that mean? It means she has to pay back everyone she scammed, including you. Ma, her lawyer just found out that Claudette has been hiding assets in offshore accounts for years. Money she stole from previous victims. The prosecution is seizing all of it. We're talking close to $2 million. I couldn't breathe. $2 million? They're dividing it among all the victims. Based on the calculation, you're going to get back your $12,000 plus about $40,000 in damages for the emotional distress and attempted fraud. Ma, you're going to get $52,000. I sat down hard on the bed. $52,000. More money than I'd ever had at one time in my life. But that's not even the best part, Malcolm continued. Terrell's father, Donald, he feels terrible about everything. He knew his wife was a con artist and he didn't stop her because he was scared. Now he's trying to make it right. He's personally paying all the wedding vendors to clear the debts, every single one. And Ma, he wants to meet with you when you get back. He has something to tell you about Dad. About your father? Malcolm, your father's been dead for 30 years. I know. That's why you need to hear this in person. Donald says it's important. Something about a life insurance policy. Before I could process any of that, my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. Mrs. Fletcher, this is Terrell. I know I have no right to contact you, and you probably want nothing to do with me or my family. I don't blame you. But I need you to know that what my mother did is unforgivable, and I take full responsibility for not seeing who she really was. Shanice deserves better than me and better than my family. But she loves you so much, and she's destroying herself over what she did. I'm not asking you to forgive her for my sake. I'm asking you to talk to her for hers. She needs her mother. Please. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I looked at Beverly, who was reading on the other balcony, giving me space, but staying close. Beverly, can I ask you something? Of course, honey. When someone hurts you deeply, someone you love more than anything, how do you know when it's time to forgive them? Beverly closed her book and came over. You know what the Bible says about forgiveness, I'm sure. But as a judge, I learned that forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still keep your distance. You can forgive someone and still protect yourself. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the poison of bitterness. But trust? Trust has to be rebuilt, brick by brick. And that takes time. I don't know if I can trust Shanice again. Then don't, not yet. But maybe you can listen to her. Not because she deserves it, but because you deserve closure. You deserve to say what you need to say, to hear what she needs to say, and then decide what comes next. That night, I finally called Shanice. She answered before the first ring finished. "Mama?" Her voice was destroyed, hoarse from crying. "I'm here, baby." She sobbed so hard she couldn't speak for a full minute. When she finally could, the words came tumbling out. "Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was awful to you. I treated you like you didn't matter. I let that woman poison me against you, and I was too stupid and selfish to see it. You're the best mother in the world, and I threw you away for a fake life and fake people, and I'm so sorry." "Shanice, stop. Breathe, baby. Just breathe." She took shaky breaths. "Are you ever coming home?" "I'm coming home on the 20th, like I planned. This is my vacation, remember? You told me I should take one." "I didn't mean during my wedding." "There is no wedding anymore, baby." Silence. Then quietly, "I know. Everything's gone. The wedding, Terrell, all of it. He can't even look at me. He says he needs time to deal with his family situation. Mama, I ruined everything." "No, baby. Claudette ruined everything. You just got caught in her trap. But you made choices, too. Choices that hurt me. And we're going to have to talk about that. I know. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right. Therapy, counseling, whatever you want. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you." "Shanice, I don't want you to spend your life making things up to me. I want you to spend your life being the woman I raised you to be. The kind woman. The humble woman. The woman who knows where she came from and isn't ashamed of it." "I'm not ashamed anymore, Mama. I promise." "Good. Then we'll talk when I get home. Really talk. But right now, I need you to do something for me." "Anything." "I need you to go to Sister Phyllis's house and apologize to her, and to Brother Warren, and to every single person from our church who you decided wasn't good enough for your curated celebration. You're going to look them in the eye and tell them you were wrong." "Okay, I will, I promise." "And Shanice, one more thing." "Yes, Mama?" "I love you. I'm hurt and angry and disappointed, but I love you. I always have, and I always will. Nothing changes that." She started crying again, but these were different tears. Relief tears. Hope tears. "I love you too, Mama. So much." After we hung up, I walked out onto the balcony. Beverly was there, waiting. "How do you feel?" she asked. "I don't know yet. Ask me in a few days." "Fair enough. Now come on, we're going salsa dancing. I signed us up for lessons." "Beverly, I'm 72 years old." "So am I, and I can still move these hips." "Come on, Connie. You've spent your whole life taking care of everyone else. For the next week, you're taking care of you." And you know what? I did. I took salsa lessons. I went parasailing. I ate food I couldn't pronounce. I made friends with people from all over the world. I laughed until my stomach hurt. I slept until noon. I did every single thing I'd never done because I was too busy being responsible, being a mother, being the strong one everyone leaned on. For 1 week, I was just Connie. Not Mama, not Mrs. Fletcher, not the church lady who always volunteered. Just Connie. And it felt amazing. But on my last night in Costa Rica, Malcolm called with news that shattered my peaceful bubble. "Ma, Donald came to the house today. The thing he wanted to tell you about Dad? Ma, you need to come home now. Tonight if you can. This changes everything." "Malcolm, what are you talking about? What about your father?" "Ma, Dad's life insurance. The policy he had through the school district. It never paid out to you?" "What?" "Yes, it did. I got $50,000 after he died. That's what kept us afloat." "That's what you got. But the policy was for $250,000, Ma. Someone at the insurance company embezzled the rest." Donald knows who it was because it was his first wife. And Ma, she's still alive, still has the money. Still living in North Carolina, 30 miles from you. My legs went weak. What? Donald's first wife, Claudette's aunt, stole your insurance money 30 years ago. Claudette knew about it. Donald knew about it. They've been sitting on this information for 3 decades while you worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. Ma, you should have been a wealthy woman. You should have had everything you needed. Instead, these people robbed you blind and watched you struggle. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. All those years of working myself to exhaustion. All those nights wondering how I'd pay the bills. All those times I couldn't afford things for my children. All of it because someone stole from me. Donald wants to make it right, Malcolm continued. He's willing to testify against his ex-wife. Help you get the money back with 30 years of interest. Ma, we're talking about close to $1 million once you factor in what that money should have grown to. $1 million. The money that should have been mine all along. The money that would have changed everything. When does my flight leave? I asked quietly. Tomorrow at noon. I booked you first class. Ma, when you get here, we're not just getting your money back. We're taking down everyone who ever stole from you, lied to you, or thought they could treat you like you didn't matter. It's time for justice. I stood on that balcony, looking at the ocean for the last time, and I felt something shift inside me. I'd come to Costa Rica as a heartbroken mother running from pain. I was leaving as a woman who'd remembered her own strength. And I was going home to burn down the lies that had controlled my life for 30 years. The flight home felt like traveling between 2 different lives. The woman who'd left North Carolina 10 days ago was running from pain. The woman returning was ready to face it head-on and demand what was rightfully hers. Malcolm picked me up at the airport. He looked tired, older somehow, like the past week had aged him. He hugged me tight. Ma, I need to prepare you. There's a lot of people at your house. What people? Everyone. Shanice, Donald, Attorney Harper, the investigator from the Insurance Fraud Division, and about half of Greater Hope Baptist. Sister Phyllis organized a welcome home committee. I smiled for the first time since boarding the plane. Of course she did. When we pulled up to my little house on Maple Street, I understood what Malcolm meant. Cars lined the street. My front yard was full of people. As soon as I stepped out of Malcolm's car, Sister Phyllis came running, moving faster than I'd seen her move in years. Connie Fletcher, you beautiful, strong, amazing woman. She grabbed me in a hug that knocked the breath out of me. Girl, you missed all the excitement. Claudette's in jail, her whole family's falling apart, and half the town is talking about how you stood up for yourself. I didn't do anything. I just went on vacation. Honey, that's exactly what you did. You showed everyone that you don't have to accept being treated like garbage just because someone's family. Now come inside. We've got work to do. My house was packed. Church members had brought food, collard greens, mac and cheese, fried chicken, sweet potato pie. My dining room table was covered in legal documents, and sitting in my living room, looking small and broken, was Shanice. She stood up when she saw me. Her eyes were red and swollen. She'd lost weight. Her hair wasn't done. This wasn't the polished, put-together woman who'd been planning a curated celebration. This was my daughter, stripped of all pretense, looking like she needed her mother. Mama. Everyone in the room went quiet, watching us. I walked over to her slowly. She started crying before I even reached her. I went to Sister Phyllis like you asked, and Brother Warren, and everyone from church. I apologized to every single person. Some of them forgave me, some didn't. Sister Phyllis told me that forgiveness has to be earned through changed behavior, not just words. She was right. She usually is. Mama, I know I don't deserve another chance. I know I broke your heart. But if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life showing you that I've learned, that I'm different. that I know what really matters now. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. I saw the little girl who used to braid my hair, the teenager who'd dance with me in the kitchen, the college graduate who'd cried happy tears when she got her first teaching job. Somewhere along the way, she'd lost herself trying to be someone else. But maybe she could find her way back. We're going to take this slow, baby, day by day. I forgive you, but trust takes time to rebuild. I know. I'll wait as long as it takes. I hugged her then, and she collapsed into me, sobbing. Over her shoulder, I saw Malcolm wipe his eyes. Sister Phyllis nodded approvingly. After Shanice calmed down, Attorney Harper called everyone to attention. Mrs. Fletcher, we have a lot to cover. First, the good news. Claudette Wallace has been formally charged with 17 counts of fraud, identity theft, and forgery. She's facing 20 to 30 years in prison. The restitution fund has been established, and you'll receive your $52,000 within 60 days. And the insurance fraud? Harper's expression turned serious. That's more complicated. Donald, would you like to explain? A man in his early 70s stood up. He had Terrell's eyes but looked worn down by life. Mrs. Fletcher, I don't expect you to forgive me. What I'm about to tell you, I should have told you 30 years ago. But I was a coward, and I let my fear control me. Just tell me what happened. He took a deep breath. In 1994, I was married to Sandra Morrison. She worked for United Heritage Insurance, the company that handled your husband's life insurance policy. When your husband died, she was assigned to process the claim. The policy was for $250,000. I felt the room spin. Hearing it out loud made it real. Sandra was stealing from the company. She'd set up fake accounts and siphon money from large payouts, counting on people being too grief-stricken to notice discrepancies. She gave you $50,000, enough that you wouldn't question it, and kept the rest. $200,000 that should have been yours. Why didn't you stop her? Because I didn't find out until 5 years later, after we divorced. By then, she'd already spent most of the money, and she threatened me. Said if I told anyone, she'd claim I was part of it, that I'd go to jail and lose custody of Terrell. I believed her because she was vicious, manipulative, and had connections. So I stayed quiet. I remarried Claudette, who turned out to be Sandra's niece and just as corrupt. I've spent 30 years married to criminals, too scared to do the right thing. Where is Sandra now? Living in Raleigh, in a house she bought with your money, driving a car she bought with your money, living the life you should have had. The rage that filled me was so intense I had to sit down. Malcolm put his hand on my shoulder. Harper spoke up. Mrs. Fletcher, we can pursue this. The statute of limitations on insurance fraud is complex, but given that you only discovered the fraud recently, we have grounds for a civil suit at minimum. Criminal charges might be harder, but not impossible. How much would I get back? With interest compounded over 30 years, plus penalties and damages? Conservatively, $1.2 million. Maybe more if we can prove emotional distress. $1.2 million. The number was so large I couldn't wrap my mind around it. Donald, why are you helping me now? He looked at his hands. Because I'm dying, pancreatic cancer. 6 months, maybe less. And I can't die knowing I let them destroy you. Claudette destroyed my son's happiness. Sandra destroyed your life. I'm done protecting them. I'll testify. I'll give you every document I have. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right before I'm gone. The room was silent. I'm sorry, I finally said. About your diagnosis. Don't be sorry for me. I've made my choices. I have to live with them, or die with them, I suppose. He smiled bitterly. But maybe I can do one good thing before I go. Help you get justice. Over the next 3 hours, we went through everything. Harper laid out the legal strategy. The investigator from the insurance fraud division explained they'd been trying to build a case against Sandra for years, but couldn't get witnesses. Donald's testimony would be the key. We'd file both criminal and civil charges. This is going to take time, Harper warned. Months, maybe a year or more. Are you prepared for that? I thought about 30 years of struggling, 30 years of working 2 jobs, 30 years of telling my children we couldn't afford things, while the woman who stole from us lived in luxury. I've waited 30 years, I said. I can wait a little longer for justice. After the meeting ended and people started to leave, Shanice hung back. Mama, can I stay? Just for tonight? I don't want to be alone, and Terrell and we're not together anymore. He needs time to deal with his family situation. I wanted to say no, wanted to protect my heart, but looking at my daughter, broken and humbled and finally seeing clearly, I couldn't turn her away. You can stay. But Shanice, things are different now. I'm different now. I'm not going to drop everything to fix your problems anymore. I'm not going to make myself small so you can feel big. If you stay, we do this as equals, as 2 adults learning to trust each other again. I understand. Thank you, Mama. That night, we sat in my kitchen like we used to when she was young. I made tea and we talked. Really talked. What happened to you? I asked. When did you start being ashamed of who we are? Shanice was quiet for a long time. I think it started in college. I was surrounded by kids from wealthy families, and I felt like I didn't belong. Like I had to prove I was just as good as them. Then I met Terrell, and his family seemed so perfect, so polished and successful. I wanted that life so badly I convinced myself that everything about my real life was wrong, that you were wrong, that our house was wrong, that our church was wrong. I was so stupid, Mama. You were human. We all want to belong somewhere. But you forgot that you already belonged somewhere, with people who loved you exactly as you are. I know that now. Sister Phyllis told me that belonging isn't about fitting into someone else's life. It's about being comfortable in your own. I wasn't comfortable with myself, so I tried to become someone else. And now? Now I'm just trying to figure out who I really am. Without Terrell. Without Claudette's influence. Without trying to be anyone but myself. That's good, baby. That's real growth. She smiled, the first genuine smile I'd seen from her in months. Mama, can I ask you something? Of course. How did you know to walk away? How did you know that going to Costa Rica was the right thing to do? I thought about Sister Phyllis's words, about Beverly's wisdom, about all the years I'd spent putting everyone else first. I didn't know it was right. I just knew that staying was wrong. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, even when it feels selfish, especially when it feels selfish. Because if you don't value yourself, nobody else will either. Shanice nodded slowly. I'm going to remember that. The next morning, Sister Phyllis came by with breakfast and news. Girl, you're not going to believe this. Sandra Morrison's house caught fire last night. I almost dropped my coffee. What? Nobody was hurt, but apparently the fire department found evidence of insurance fraud. She'd filed claims on jewelry and art that didn't exist. They're investigating her for arson now, too. The woman just keeps digging herself deeper. I shook my head. Sounds like God's working in mysterious ways. Indeed he is. Now, we need to talk about you. What are you going to do with all this money when you get it? I haven't thought that far ahead. Well, start thinking, because Connie Fletcher, you're about to be a wealthy woman. You can do anything you want. Go anywhere you want. Be anyone you want. What do you want? I looked around my little house on Maple Street, the house where I'd raised my babies, the house where I'd cried and prayed and struggled and survived. It was small and old, but it was mine. You know what? I think I want to travel, see the world, Beverly invited me to visit her in Chicago. Maybe I'll go. Maybe I'll go to Italy or Ghana or Hawaii. Maybe I'll take a cruise. I've spent 72 years taking care of everyone else. Maybe it's time to take care of me. Amen to that. Over the next 6 months, everything changed. Sandra Morrison was arrested for insurance fraud and arson. The evidence was overwhelming. She pleaded guilty to avoid trial and agreed to full restitution. With interest and penalties, I received $1.4 million. Claudette was sentenced to 25 years in prison. She tried to apologize in court, but the judge, ironically one of Beverly's former colleagues, wasn't having it. Ms. Wallace, you've spent decades destroying families and stealing dreams. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. I hope you use your time in prison to reflect on the lives you've ruined. Donald passed away 4 months after his diagnosis. In his will, he left Terrell a letter explaining everything and apologizing for being complicit in his mother's crimes. He also left me a check for $50,000 with a note. This won't make up for my silence, but maybe it will help you enjoy the life you should have always had. Terrell and Shanice eventually worked things out, but differently than before. They went to counseling separately and together. They rebuilt their relationship on honesty instead of pretense. They got married a year later in a small ceremony at Greater Hope Baptist, with Sister Phyllis officiating and every member of our church invited. It was simple, beautiful, and real. As for me, I did travel. I went to Chicago and stayed with Beverly for 2 weeks. We went to Italy for a month. I took a cruise to Alaska. I visited Ghana and stood on the shore, feeling connected to my ancestors. I learned to paint. I joined a book club. I started a scholarship fund at Greater Hope for students from modest backgrounds who dream of college. And I bought a new house. Not a big fancy house. I didn't need that. But a comfortable house with a guest room for when Malcolm visits, and a sunroom where I drink coffee every morning, and a garden where I grow vegetables. But you know what? The most important thing I did was learn to choose myself. Not in a selfish way, but in a healthy way. I learned that loving yourself isn't the opposite of loving others. It's the foundation for loving others well. Shanice and I rebuilt our relationship slowly. She proved herself through consistent action, not grand gestures. She shows up. She listens. She respects my boundaries. She's become a mother herself now. My granddaughter, Constance Beverly Fletcher, is the light of my life. And yes, they named her after me and my Costa Rica angel. Sometimes Shanice asks me if I regret going to Costa Rica, if I regret missing her first wedding. Baby, I tell her, that trip saved my life. It reminded me that I matter, that my feelings matter, that I don't have to accept being treated poorly just because someone's family. If I hadn't gone, I'd still be the woman who puts everyone else first and herself last. Instead, I'm the woman who knows her worth. I'm glad you went too, Mama. Even though it hurt at the time, it was the wake-up call I needed. Yesterday was my 74th birthday. My house was full of people. Malcolm and his wife, Shanice and Terrell and baby Constance, Sister Phyllis and the church family, Beverly who flew in from Chicago, and dozens of friends from all the traveling I've done. As I looked around at everyone laughing and eating and celebrating, I thought about that night in Costa Rica when my life fell apart, when I learned about Claudette's fraud and the insurance theft, and watched my daughter's wedding crumble from 3,000 miles away. It felt like the end of the world then, but it was actually the beginning. The beginning of me finally putting myself first, the beginning of demanding respect, the beginning of justice, the beginning of joy. Malcolm raised his glass for a toast. To Ma, the strongest woman I know, who taught us that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away, who showed us that love doesn't mean accepting mistreatment, who proved that it's never too late to choose yourself. Happy birthday, Ma. We love you. Everyone cheered and I smiled, looking at the life I'd built from the ashes of betrayal. A life where I matter, where my voice is heard, where I'm valued. And you know what? It's a pretty beautiful life. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.